Today, we profile Lorenzo Pietra Berra, aka Yogi Berra. Billy Crystal once said of Yogi, he's the most overlooked superstar in the history of baseball. Famous for double talk and yogiisms, maybe the most famous, it ain't over till it's over. He was born 1925 in an Italian neighborhood known as the Hill in St. Louis, Missouri. A boyhood friend gave him the nickname Yogi because he looked like a Hindu yogi when he squatted to catch. In 1942, the New York Yankees signed him for a $500 bonus. Shohei Ohtani, for the next 10 years, is being paid $70 million a year by the Los Angeles Dodgers. In 1943, during World War II, he joined the U.S. Navy and served as a machine gunner and participated in the D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944. He played 19 seasons in the major leagues for the Yankees, and he was an 18-time All-Star. 5 times he had more home runs than strikeouts in a season. Let me say that again. 5 different years, he had more home runs than strikeouts in the season. He was named the American League MVP 3 times and is widely regarded as one of the 2 greatest catchers in the history of baseball, along with Johnny Bench. He played or coached in 21 World Series and was on the winning side in 13 of them. He caught Don Larson's perfect game in Game 5 of the 1956 World Series, the only perfect game in the history of the World Series. And in 1999, he was named to the Major League Baseball All-Century team by a vote of fans. He was famous for yogiisms. The future ain't what it used to be. There ain't no future living in the past. I try not to make too many predictions, especially about the future. It's deja vu all over again. It ain't over till it's over. One night he was having pizza outside at a restaurant. And the waiter came up and said, should I cut the pizza into 4 slices or 6 slices? Yogi's response, you better cut the pizza in 4 pieces because I'm not hungry enough to eat 6 pieces. It's a funny thing about baseball fans. If they don't want to come to the ballpark, you can't stop them. You can observe a lot just by watching. I knew I was going to take the wrong train, so I left early. We made too many wrong mistakes. That's why we lost. A nickel isn't worth a dime today. You should always go to other people's funerals. Otherwise, they won't come to yours. I really didn't say everything I said. Some stories. For 35 years, he and his wife Carmen went to Mama Leone's in New York City 3 times a week. Then after 35 years, he quit going, and someone asked him one day, Yogi, why don't you go to Mama Leone's anymore? His answer, oh, that place is so busy, ain't nobody goes there anymore. In late July 2005, I was honored to go to Cooperstown for the baseball induction weekend of Wade Boggs and Ryan Sandberg. And on Saturday morning, I got to play a round of golf with Hall of Famer George Brett, Bill Murray, and Yogi Berra. That was 4 hours of unbelievable experiences. Yogi had Bill Murray on the ground laughing and crying the whole 4 hours. It was a scramble. And we always let Yogi go first. And one time we had an 80-foot putt uphill. And Yogi putts it, he leaves it 40 feet short. And he immediately turns around and he says, if I'd have hit that harder, I'd have missed closer. I think on the ninth hole, it was a dog leg around water. George Brett and Murray could both hit the ball 300 yards, so they cut too much of the fairway and they both put it into a lake. And Yogi hit his ball into a trap on the left side. And I hit my ball into a trap on the right side. And the two traps are equally distant to the green. So Bill Murray and Yogi are arguing for 5 minutes over which ball should we hit. Screaming at each other. Finally, Yogi says, Bill, even if I was playing by myself, I'd hit my own ball. Bill says, Yogi, you've convinced us we're hitting your own ball. His mind just worked differently. Whitey Ford, Yankee pitcher, chairman of the board, lefty, 16 years, he was the pitcher, Yogi was the catcher. He said, one day, Jack, we're playing the Chicago White Sox. Go White Sox, first guy up, Louis Aparicio from the right side. Yogi tells me throw fastball down and in. I throw a perfect fastball at the knees on the inside corner. First pitch. Louis slaps it to left field. He's on first. He always wanted to steal. So now I go into the stretch. Now it's Nellie Fox with that wad of tobacco and that big bat he had from the left side. And he tells me throw fastball down and in. I throw a perfect fastball at the knees on the inside corner. First pitch, and Nellie slaps it to right. 2 pitches, 2 men on. Third guy up, Jim Landis. Yogi tells me, bounce one up here. I bounce the ball up there, and he bunts it. Landis bunts it. A perfect bunt down the third base line. I go to pick the ball up. I don't have a play. I've thrown 3 pitches, first inning, and the bases are loaded. So I'm going back to the mound, and here I see the old professor, our manager. He sees Stengel coming from the first base dugout. And for 16 years, when he was my manager, when he'd come to the mound, he never said a word to me. He would just motion for Yogi. Yogi would waddle out to the mound. It was gibberish between the two of them. I had to go in the dugout and get an aspirin because my head would be spinning listening to these two guys with the double talk. So on that particular day, Casey says, Yogi, does Whitey have it today? Yogi says, Skip, I don't know. I ain't caught one yet. Jim Bunning, Tiger pitchers, tells the stories of the Yankees are playing the Tigers doubleheader, Tiger Stadium, second game of the doubleheader, and the Tigers bring up a new catcher. First game the kid's ever caught in the major leagues. And when he squats down to give me the signs, he's got his fingers too low. So when he gives 2 fingers down for a curveball from the first base, Gil McDougall, the Yankee shortstop, can see, and every time he puts 2 fingers down there, McDougall starts to whistle. So they knew what was coming. It's at the top of the third inning, they're killing us. We're losing 8-0. They know every pitch I'm coming. So the first batter is Moose Skowron, second or third pitch, puts 2 fingers down there, McDougall whistles. Skowron knows it's going to be a curveball. So I plunk Skowron right in the back. Next guy up comes Yogi. On the windup, puts 2 fingers down there. McDougall whistles. I step off the rubber. I says, Yogi, if McDougall whistles one more time, I'm plunking you right in the head. Yogi steps out. Jim, I heard him, but I ain't listening. On January 31st, 2001, I was honored to attend the National Geographic Baseball Hall of Fame event in Washington, D.C. There were 45 Baseball Hall of Famers, senators, Supreme Court justices. For an hour, I stood next to the late, great Tim Russert, right behind Yogi. One by one, the Hall of Famers would come up and ask Yogi to tell a story about this person or that person. Yogi never once completed the story about any of them, as he was constantly interrupted by other Hall of Famers. Captivating. His son Lawrence, one day, was already married, had keys to the house, walked into the house, mom and dad weren't there, and he leaves 4 baseballs on the kitchen counter. And he leaves alone. Dad, would you please sign to Joe, to Jim, and to no name? A week or two later, I'm driving by. I stop by. I says, Pa, you got the baseballs? Yes, Lawrence, but I only signed 3 of them. Pa, I need all 4. Why did you only sign 3 of them? Well, here's the to Joe, best wishes Yogi, to Jim, best wishes Yogi, but I only signed 1 to no name. Pa, give me that baseball. To no name, best wishes, Yogi Berra. 1 year, Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame, I'm sitting on the porch overlooking the Otsego Lake with L. Kalin and his wife and Earl Weaver and his wife. And here comes Yogi and Carmen. They had driven from New Jersey. You know, and they greet each other and they hug everybody. And Carmen says, we got a new one. We're driving, we're 2 hours into the drive. And I said, Yogi, we have to talk. Carmen, you always talk. Yogi, we're not going to live forever. We're both 80 years old. You know, we met when we were in grade school. We were in the 2nd grade, Yogi, on the hill. And we've got to talk about where we should be buried. We have to be buried together, Yogi. And on the one hand, we have to be buried in St. Louis, you know, on the hill. This is where our grandparents, our parents, aunts, uncles, some of our cousins, brothers, sisters, they're all buried in that little cemetery on the hill. It's our land. It's where we're from. But then, Yogi honey, on the other hand, we've lived for 60 years in New York, New Jersey. You know, our children, our grandchildren, our friends, this is where we've made our life together for 60 years. So you could argue equally that we should be buried somewhere in New York, New Jersey. Yogi honey, what do you think? Carmen honey, why don't you just surprise me? Someone once asked Yogi, what do you want for it to say on your tombstone? Yogi replied, it's over. That's the story of Yogi Berra. Lawrence Pietro Berra. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, like, subscribe, and or share them with family and friends. Until we meet again, please remember, with God, anything is possible.